The silence of space was endless. Stars burned far away, cold and distant, while broken ships drifted like ghosts. What was once the great human fleet now floated in pieces, scattered across the dark. Fire flickered on the remains of metal hulls, then faded into blackness. Only one ship still moved. The USS Valor. Her engines were weak. Her shields were gone. Her hull was cracked open in many places, but somehow she was still alive. Inside, red lights blinked across the control deck as smoke filled the air. Every surface shook, every alarm screamed, but Captain Aric Vance refused to give up. He stood at the command station, blood on his forehead, eyes sharp and focused. His voice was calm but heavy with pain. "Status report," Lieutenant Mara answered, her hands flying over broken controls. "Main reactor stable but low. Weapons offline. Life support at 40%. We lost communication with the fleet. All ships are gone, sir. Gone." The word felt like a knife in the captain's heart. They had gone into the battle with 300 ships. Now only one remained. The alien empire, the Varkon Dominion, had crushed them without mercy. The Valor had escaped only because its jump drive malfunctioned. A broken engine had saved their lives. "Are there any survivors?" Aric asked quietly. "None that we can detect," Mara said. Her voice was soft, almost breaking. "We are alone." The bridge fell silent. Only the hum of dying engines filled the air. Aric looked out through the cracked window of the command deck. He saw the cold remains of humanity's pride. Every ship destroyed. Every dream turned to ash. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he whispered, "If we are the last, then we will not die hiding." Suddenly the radar beeped. A faint signal appeared on the edge of the screen. Mara frowned. "Sir, I'm picking up something." "A beacon signal." Aric turned quickly. "From where?" "Unknown sector. Coordinates coming through now. It's human frequency, but it's old, very old." The captain walked to her console, studying the flickering data. The beacon repeated again and again. A long pulse, a short pulse, a long one. An ancient human distress code. "It's impossible," Aric said. "No human beacon should be this far out." "That signal design is from the early colonization era, over 200 years old." Mara looked at him. "Then how's it active now?" Aric stared at the blinking light. For the first time in hours, there was a small spark in his eyes. Hope, or maybe curiosity. He pressed the intercom. "Bridge to engineering. Prepare engines for course correction." "We're heading toward that signal." The reply came with static. "Sir, the engines are barely holding. If we push too hard, we could tear the ship apart," Aric answered without hesitation. "If that beacon is real, it might be our only chance." "Do it." The crew obeyed. The Valor turned slowly, engines roaring to life. Sparks flew across the deck as metal groaned from stress. Outside, the stars began to shift. Hours passed as they followed the signal. Space around them grew darker, emptier. No planets, no light. Only the echo of that ancient beacon guiding them deeper into nowhere. Finally, they reached the source. A dead world, covered in frozen clouds. No lights, no cities, no movement. "Just silence," Mara whispered. "That's where the signal is coming from." The surface. Aric studied the grey planet. "Any signs of life?" "None, sir. But the beacon is active under the ice. Power source unknown." The captain stood tall, thinking. Every instinct told him it was a trap. The Dominion had used tricks like this before. False human signals, fake calls for help. But something about this one felt different. It wasn't made by the aliens. It was human and very old, Aric finally spoke. "Prepare a landing team." "I'll go myself," the crew protested, but he raised his hand. "This ship needs answers. If that beacon holds even one clue to our survival, we must find it." Minutes later, the Valor's landing craft detached from the ship and began its descent through the planet's icy clouds. Lightning flashed below, lighting up the frozen mountains. Inside the shuttle, Aric checked his gear. His reflection in the cracked helmet glass showed a man who had lost everything but still refused to bow down. The shuttle hit the ground hard. Snow and dust rose in waves. The team stepped out, scanners glowing in the dark. The wind howled like a living thing. "Beacons close," Mara said through the comms. "Just ahead, under the ice ridge." They moved carefully, weapons ready. Then they saw it, an old metal tower buried halfway under the ice. It was covered in frost but still pulsing with light. The human symbol on it was faint but clear, the mark of the United Earth Fleet long before the Dominion War even began. Aric touched the frozen metal. The moment his hand brushed it, the beacon light flickered, then changed pattern. Mara's voice came through the radio. "Captain, the signal just changed frequency. It's transmitting again, but now it's not a distress call." Aric looked up, eyes narrowing. "Then what is it?" Mara hesitated. "It's a message," a human voice, repeating one line. "What line?" Her voice trembled as she read it. "It says, if you are hearing this, humanity still has a chance." Aric stared at the light glowing through the ice. For the first time since the fall of the fleet, his heart felt something stronger than pain. "Then we follow this beacon," he said, "until the end." Far above in the dark of space, unseen sensors lit up. The Dominion had noticed the activation. Something was watching the Valor, and it was already moving toward them. The USS Valor orbited the dead planet like a wounded beast in the dark. Its hull was cracked, engines glowing dim, but its heart still burned. Inside, Captain Aric Vance stood on the bridge, staring at the live signal pulsing across the main screen. The beacon they found under the ice was no simple distress call. It was now sending a message, a human voice repeating again and again, "If you are hearing this, humanity still has a chance." Every time the words played, the crew fell silent. The voice was old, recorded decades ago. Male, deep, calm, full of purpose. It sounded like someone who had known the war would come. Lieutenant Mara looked up from her console. "Sir, we've analyzed the signal. It's not random. It's carrying data under the voice transmission, coordinates. It's pointing deeper into the outer rim." Aric crossed his arms, thinking. "Show me." The holographic map flickered to life. The coordinates pointed toward a sector known only by one name, the Black Zone. No one went there, not even the Dominion. It was a dead region of space, filled with magnetic storms and wreckage from ancient wars. Navigation systems failed there. Communication signals vanished into static. Mara looked uneasy. "So that zone eats ships. The Dominion marked it off limits centuries ago. Nothing comes out once it enters." Aric's voice was steady. "And yet that's where the message leads." The crew exchanged glances. Everyone knew the danger, but something in their captain's tone made them trust him. Aric turned toward the window, watching the stars. "Humanity is gone, or so they think. If there's even a small chance that message is real, we follow it. The Valor was built to fight until the last spark." He looked at Mara. "Plot a course for the Black Zone." The engines rumbled to life. The Valor turned, cutting through the silent dark once again. As they entered the edge of the Black Zone, the stars began to vanish. Strange lights moved through the fog, blue storms twisting across space like ghosts. Energy readings jumped wildly. The crew worked fast to stabilize the ship's systems. "Shields fluctuating," Mara said. "Magnetic interference off the charts," Aric nodded. "Keep the reactor balanced. Slow and steady." "The signal?" "Still strong, sir," she replied. "It's pulling us toward the center of the zone." Hours passed. Outside the windows, the darkness grew thicker, like ink swallowing the ship. The Valor's lights became the only thing visible in the void. Then, static burst across the speakers. Mara frowned. "Sir, the beacon signal just changed again." A new sound filled the bridge. Not a recording this time, but a live transmission. A whisper broken by static. "Valor, do you copy?" Aric froze. "That's a live voice." "Whose signal?" Mara worked the controls fast. "Trying to clear interference." "It's human, sir. Definitely human." The voice came again, clearer now. "This is Commander Hale. If you hear this, you are not alone." The crew stared at each other in disbelief. Aric leaned forward. "Commander Hale, identify your location." Static roared, cutting the voice apart. Then a faint reply. "We found something. The last weapon. Hurry before they find..." The transmission ended. "Signal lost," Mara whispered. Aric's hand tightened on the console. "Trace the source. Working on it. Got it." Signal origin, an asteroid cluster near the center of the black zone. Set course, Aric ordered immediately. The journey through the storm was brutal. Lightning-like energy waves slammed against the ship's shields. Systems flickered and shut down one by one. The Valor groaned as space itself seemed to crush around it. Finally, they broke through the storm's core. And there it was, an asteroid field spinning around a massive dark shape. At first, it looked like a mountain. Then the scanners revealed its true form, a ship, but not Dominion. Not alien, human. It was gigantic, larger than any warship the United Earth ever built. Its hull was old and scarred, covered in black plating. The name was barely readable across the side. Arkhammer. Mara's voice trembled. "Sir, that ship is not on any record. It shouldn't exist," Aric's eyes narrowed. "Maybe it's the last weapon the message spoke of." They approached carefully. The Valor's lights swept across the Arkhammer's hull. For a long time, nothing moved. Then a faint light blinked from one of its docking ports. "It's sending a docking signal," Mara said. "Old human code, pre-war standard." Aric didn't hesitate. "Prepare to dock." As the Valor connected, the crew moved through the airlock. The Arkhammer's interior was dark and silent. Dust floated in the weightless air. Old banners of the Earth fleet hung from the walls, faded and torn. They moved deeper, flashlights cutting through the shadows. Then, in the main control hall, they found them, rows of stasis pods. Each one held a person sleeping inside. Mara gasped. Human crew. Hundreds of them. A control terminal near the pods flickered to life, showing one name at the top. Commander Elias Hylaric stepped forward, studying the sleeping man in the nearest pod. His face was calm, frozen in time. "This is where the voice came from," Mara said softly. "He sent the signal before he went into stasis." Aric touched the terminal. Suddenly, a hidden file opened. A final message. Hale's voice echoed through the hall. "If anyone finds this, the Arkhammer carries humanity's final hope. The Dominion's reign will fall, but only if this ship awakens. Protect the Valor. It will guide the way." The recording ended. Silence returned. Aric looked at the frozen faces of the sleeping crew. "Then we wake them," he said quietly. "The war isn't over." But outside, far beyond the asteroid field, Bocon scanners had already detected the Valor's energy signature. The hunters were coming. The USS Valor floated beside the ancient human warship. The Arkhammer, its lights casting faint reflections over the massive black hull. Inside the Valor's bridge, Captain Aric Vance stood silent, his eyes fixed on the view outside. The Arkhammer looked like a sleeping giant, waiting for something, maybe waiting for them. Lieutenant Mara worked quickly at her console. "Sir, we've connected to the Arkhammer's core systems. Power grid is old but stable. Reactor still operational but dormant." Aric nodded slowly. "Can we wake it?" "Maybe," Mara said, "but we'll need to route energy from the Valor to its systems. It could take hours. And sir, there's more." Aric turned. "What is it?" She looked uneasy. "The Arkhammer isn't a normal ship. Its schematics show something strange. Deep within its hull, multiple sealed compartments. No data on what's inside. Access restricted under Project Black Dawn. Classified by the old Earth Command. Project Black Dawn." Aric repeated quietly. The name sounded dangerous and powerful. He looked around the bridge. "Prepare the transfer. I want that ship alive again." The Valor's crew worked fast. Power conduits linked the two ships. Energy began to flow from the Valor into the sleeping Arkhammer. The lights across its hull flickered, then came to life one by one. Deep inside the Arkhammer, systems that had been silent for centuries began to hum. The air filled with a low, thunderous vibration. Dust drifted down from the ceiling as old machinery awoke. "Power levels rising," Mara reported. "Reactor at 20%, 30, 50. It's stabilizing." "Keep it steady," Aric ordered. Then a voice echoed from the comms. Calm, mechanical, old. "Arkhammer core systems online. Identification required." Aric stepped forward. "Captain Aric Vance, United Earth Fleet, ship designation Valor." There was silence. Then the voice replied, "Identity accepted. Welcome, Captain Vance. Project Black Dawn is ready for activation." Mara's eyes widened. "Sir!" The ship recognized you. Aric nodded grimly. Let's see what this project really is. The landing team returned to the Arkamer. The air inside was cold and still. Aric, Mara, and 2 engineers walked through the corridors, guided by the flickering lights. They reached the central command core, where an ancient console waited, its screen glowing faint blue. Lines of old human code flashed across it. Then a new message appeared. Authorization required. Unlock Project Black Dawn. Aric placed his hand on the console. Proceed. The ship shuddered. Heavy metal doors opened along the walls, releasing bursts of icy air. The floor panels vibrated as hidden machinery moved beneath their feet. Inside those compartments lay rows of weapon pods, strange, massive, and unlike anything the Valor had. Each was marked with a symbol Aric had never seen before, a circle divided by lightning bolts. Mara scanned one. These are experimental rail cannons, but their power readings are off the scale. They use dark matter cores, sir. Prototypes. They were never used during the war because they were unstable. Unstable or not, Aric said. We'll need them if we're going to survive what's coming. The ship's AI spoke again. Warning. Dominion presence detected within outer perimeter. Everyone froze. Mara turned sharply to Aric. Sir, that means... They found us, he finished. Get back to the Valor now. Minutes later, the crew raced through the corridors, crossing the docking bridge to their ship. As soon as they reached the Valor, the alarms screamed. On the main screen, red blips appeared. Dominion ships, 3 destroyers closing fast. They're scanning us, Mara said. They must have tracked our reactor signal through the storm. Aric's eyes narrowed. Weapons? Only our forward cannons are online, she said. The rest are still damaged. Aric looked toward the dark silhouette of the Arkamer through the window. Then it's time to see if that ship remembers how to fight. He opened the comms link. Arkamer, activate defensive systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Arkamer's lights turned blood red. Its massive turrets unlocked with a deep metallic growl. Energy built across its hull, like a storm forming in silence. The first Dominion ship fired, a streak of plasma cutting across the void. It struck the Arkamer's armor and vanished, barely leaving a mark. Then the Arkamer answered. One shot. A single beam of light, thin and blue, shot from its side. It hit the Dominion destroyer directly and tore it apart in seconds. The explosion lit the asteroid field like a sunrise. The crew on the Valor stared in awe. Good God, Mara whispered. That thing just destroyed a capital-class ship with one shot. Aric's voice was steady, but filled with power. Target the next one. Fire again. The Arkamer obeyed. Another blast, another Dominion ship gone. The last one tried to flee, but the Valor's own weapons joined the strike. Together, both ships turned the void into fire. When the silence returned, no enemy remained. Only drifting wreckage and glowing fragments. The bridge fell quiet. The crew stared at the screens, hearts pounding. For the first time since the fall of the fleet, humanity had struck back and won. Mara smiled faintly. We actually did it, sir. We beat them. Aric didn't smile. He looked at the Arkamer, its guns cooling, its dark hull glowing faintly. No, he said quietly. This was just the beginning. The Dominion now knows we're alive. They will come for us with everything they have. He turned toward the window, his eyes cold and determined. Let them come. The Arkamer and the Valor will stand together. The galaxy will remember that humans do not die quietly. Far away, in a Dominion command ship, alien officers stared at the incoming report. 3 destroyers destroyed by a single human vessel. Their commander hissed in disbelief. Impossible. The humans are extinct, the officer replied, trembling. Then tell me, sir, who is fighting us now? The wreckage of the Dominion destroyers drifted slowly through the asteroid field, glowing like dying stars. The USS Valor and the Arkamer stood silent among them, 2 human ships against a sea of darkness. Inside the Valor's bridge, red lights flashed across the panels as the crew repaired damaged systems. Captain Aric Vance stood near the forward window, his reflection staring back at him. He knew this victory was only a warning shot. The Dominion would not forgive what happened here. Lieutenant Mara's voice broke the silence. "Sir, we've intercepted a Dominion transmission. They're broadcasting a full alert across their sectors. They know the Arkham exists now." Aric nodded slowly. "Then we've done our job." "We made them afraid." She looked at him uncertain. "Afraid, sir? Or angry?" He gave a faint smile. "Sometimes fear and anger walk together. Either way, they're coming, and we'll be ready." The crew of both ships worked for hours. Power grids were repaired, shield generators reignited, and new weapon systems came online. The Arkham's old AI, reactivated after centuries of silence, began syncing its targeting data with the Valor. "Arkham are ready for battle operations," the AI announced. Its voice was calm, metallic, but somehow proud. "Awaiting your command, Captain Vance." Aric stood tall. "Then we move. I want to strike before they regroup." "If we wait, they'll send an armada," Mara frowned. "Where do we hit first?" Aric turned to the map flickering before him. Red Dominion outposts glowed across the screen like bleeding stars. He pointed to one near the edge of their territory. "Here," he said. "Station Sigma 9, a fuel and communications hub. If we take it down, they'll lose contact with 3 entire fleets." "Sir," Mara said, "that's deep in enemy space." "I know," he replied. "That's why it'll hurt." 2 days later, the Valor and the Arkham jumped through hyperspace. The jump was long and rough, the energy from both ships shaking their hulls. When they emerged, the stars around them changed, red giants burning above a ringed world. In orbit of that world floated Station Sigma 9, a Dominion stronghold covered in weapons and sensors. Mara scanned it quickly. Hundreds of fighters, at least 5 heavy cruisers on patrol. Aric's eyes were cold. "Then let's give them something they've never seen before." He opened the comlink. "Arkham, engage attack sequence." "Valor will follow on your mark." "Confirmed," the AI replied. The Arkham's massive rail cannons powered up. Blue lightning arced across its hull. The first shot fired, a beam so bright it tore through space like fire. The station's outer defenses shattered instantly. 2 Dominion cruisers exploded before they could react. The enemy scrambled. Fighters poured out of the hangars like a swarm of insects. Plasma beams filled the sky. The Valor dove between them, shields flaring, returning fire with precision shots. "Multiple hostiles inbound," Mara shouted. Aric gripped the rail. "Keep formation with the Arkham. Use its shadow for cover." The Valor weaved through the chaos, hiding behind the larger ship's massive frame as it fired volleys of missiles. Each explosion painted the darkness with light. A Dominion commander appeared on the comm channel, his voice full of rage. "Human ship, you dare defy the Dominion. You should have stayed dead," Aric replied coldly. "Then come prove it." The battle raged on. The Arkham's ancient weapons roared like thunder, tearing apart ship after ship. But the Dominion fought fiercely. Their cruisers focused fire on the Valor, trying to cripple the smaller ship. "Shields down to 40%, Mara cried. "Divert auxiliary power," Aric ordered. "Keep us alive." The Valor spun through enemy fire, launching counterblasts that shattered 2 fighters. The Arkham's support turrets opened fire, covering them. "Station's reactor exposed," Mara reported. "Then finish it," Aric said. The Arkham's main cannon charged once more. The light it produced was blinding. 1 final shot fired, and the entire station erupted in a wave of flame and debris. The explosion spread across the sky brighter than any sunrise. For a moment, the crew could only watch. The Dominion fleet was gone. Sigma 9 was ash. Aric lowered his hand slowly. "Target destroyed. Pull us out." Hours later, the ships drifted in quiet space, the glow of the battle fading behind them. Mara turned to Aric. "That strike will echo across the galaxy. The Dominion will know we're not just surviving anymore. We're fighting back." Aric nodded. "Good. Let them see what one ship can do. Let them learn what humans become when we have nothing left to lose." The Arkham's AI spoke softly. "Captain, Dominion fleet movements detected. Large-scale mobilization in nearby sectors. Retaliation probability, 98%. Aric looked at the screen, countless red dots spreading like fire. He smiled faintly. Then they're taking us seriously. Far away in the Dominion throne ship, the High Warlord of the Varkan Dominion watched the reports in fury. "Find this human ship," he hissed. "I want it destroyed. I want their captain brought to me alive." His advisors bowed quickly. "Yes, my lord." The warlord turned toward the stars outside his window. "If they think one ship can shake an empire, let's show them what an empire truly is." Back aboard the Valor, Aric stood alone in the dark bridge, staring at the map. The stars blinked like warning lights. He whispered to himself, "You thought one ship couldn't win. You were wrong." The reflection of fire still burned in his eyes. The war had begun again, and this time humanity was not running. The USS Valor drifted through the emptiness of deep space, her hull scorched and scarred from the last battle. The mighty Archammer followed close behind, silent and powerful, its weapons cooling after the destruction of Station Sigma 9. For the first time in years, the Dominion's empire was shaken. But in the cold dark between the stars, Captain Aric Vance knew that victory had a price. On the bridge, the lights were dim. Half the systems were damaged. Crew members worked quietly, their faces tired but proud. Lieutenant Mara stood beside the captain, her voice steady but low. "Sir, we've intercepted more Dominion transmissions. They're calling us the Ghost Fleet now. Some believe we're a myth, others are afraid to say our name." Aric's eyes didn't leave the view outside. "Good. Let them fear what they can't understand." He turned toward her. "Status of the Archammer?" "Fully operational," she replied. "But its dark matter weapons are draining fast. We'll need new cores soon, or they'll overheat." Aric nodded slowly. "We'll find a way. We always do." Days passed in silence. The two ships moved like shadows through the void, hiding in nebula clouds and asteroid belts. They attacked small Dominion patrols, destroyed fuel convoys, and vanished before the enemy could react. Every strike was clean and fast, a whisper in the dark. Whispers spread across the galaxy. The humans were back. The Ghost Fleet hunted the Dominion. For the first time in centuries, fear touched the Empire's heart. One night cycle later, the Valor entered a new system, a dying star surrounded by broken moons. Mara looked up from her console, frowning. "Sir, there's something strange here. I'm picking up faint signals, encrypted human frequency." Aric turned sharply. "Are you sure?" "Positive, sir. Multiple sources. It's not a Dominion trick this time." A small spark lit in Aric's eyes. "Track it. Narrow the signal range." Minutes later, the radar flashed. 5 dots appeared on the screen. 5 ships, Mara said, her voice rising. Human signatures, old models but still flying. Aric's heartbeat quickened. "Put it through. Open a channel. Static." Filled the speakers, then a voice came through. Deep, tired, but unmistakably human. "This is Commander Aisha Kell of the Eclipse Squadron. Identify yourself." Aric smiled faintly. "This is Captain Aric Vance of the USS Valor. You're not alone anymore." There was silence on the other end. Then laughter. Tired, broken laughter. "We thought we were the last," Aric replied softly. "So did we." Hours later, the 5 ships of the Eclipse Squadron approached. They were smaller, older, but armed and ready. Their hulls bore the marks of long battles and survival. The reunion on the comms was filled with disbelief and relief. In the Valor's war room, holograms of all 6 captains flickered to life. Aric looked at them, men and women who had survived the impossible. "We've all seen what the Dominion can do," Aric began. "They took our worlds, our families, our homes. But now they're afraid, and that means we have power again." Commander Kell nodded. "You destroyed Sigma 9. The whole outer ring is in chaos. They're losing supplies. You started something big." Aric's voice was calm, but determined. "Then we finish it. Together." He pointed at the star map. The Dominion has a shadow communication array in this region, hidden inside a debris field. If we destroy it, they'll lose their network across half their empire. Their fleets won't know where to go, and their command will turn blind. Mara added, "We've studied its defenses, strong shields, hundreds of drones, but no capital ships nearby. It's a perfect strike target." Commander Kell smiled. "Then let's hit it hard." Aric nodded. "The Arkhama will lead. Valor and the Eclipse Squadron will strike from below the debris line. No survivors, no signals left behind. We vanish again after the strike." Everyone agreed. The Shadow Fleet was born that day, a name whispered across the stars. When they arrived, the Dominion array stood before them, a massive metal ring hidden inside shattered asteroids, surrounded by automated defenses. The fleet moved silently, weapons charged but dark. Aric's voice came through the comms. "All ships prepare for attack. On my mark, mark." The Valor and the Eclipse ships burst from the shadow of the rocks. The Arkhama followed, its weapons glowing with blue fire. The first volley of missiles shattered the drones. The second wave pierced the array's outer hull. Dominion guns tried to respond, but the human ships were too fast, too unpredictable. "Shields at 60%, Mara shouted. "Stay close," Aric replied. "Keep pressure on the core." The Arkhama's main cannon charged, light building until it blazed like a small sun. The energy fired in a single roar. The beams struck the array, cutting it clean in half. The explosion tore through the asteroid field, sending debris flying in every direction. The Shadow Fleet pulled away just in time, engines burning bright. Mara looked at the screen. "Target destroyed. Communication lines are down." Commander Kell's voice came through the channel, full of pride. "The Dominion won't be blind for hours. They'll be blind for months." Aric leaned back, watching the glow fade behind them. "Good. Let them wonder where we'll strike next." Far away in the Dominion command chamber, chaos spread. Officers shouted, systems failed, and reports flooded in. Fleets lost contact, colonies unresponsive, signals gone. The High Warlord roared in fury. "Who is doing this? Who commands these ghosts?" One officer whispered. "They call him Captain Aric Vance of the Valor." The Warlord's eyes burned. "Then find him. Bring me his head." Back on the Valor, the Shadow Fleet gathered their strength. Mara stood beside Aric, watching the distant stars. "We started as one ship. Now we have a fleet." Aric nodded. "And soon we'll have an army." He looked toward the darkness of space, his voice steady. "The Dominion built an empire on fear. Now we will make them feel what fear truly means." The stars reflected in his eyes like fire. The war for humanity's return had just begun. The galaxy trembled after the fall of the Dominion's communication array. Entire fleets drifted in. Confusion, colonies went silent, and commanders turned against each other. The mighty Dominion Empire, once feared across the stars, had been wounded for the first time in centuries, and the wound was caused by humans. The Shadow Fleet, 6 ships led by Captain Aric Vance, had vanished again into deep space, leaving behind a trail of chaos and unanswered questions. They became a legend, but legends have a price. On the USS Valor, alarms echoed through the corridors. Engineers worked day and night to repair the engines, weld torn panels and refill plasma cores. The ship had survived the last battle, but only barely. The crew moved with quiet determination, their faces lined with exhaustion. Mara stood by the main console, watching system reports flash red. Power grid at 40%, shield emitters damaged, and the Arkhama's reactor is unstable, she said, frowning. "If we fight again now, we won't survive." Aric looked out the viewport where the giant warship Arkhama floated, its hull dimly glowing. "We don't have a choice," he said. "The Dominion will come for us. They'll come with everything they have." Mara turned toward him. "Then what's the plan, Captain?" Aric's eyes narrowed. "We disappear again, but this time we choose where. Meanwhile, on the Dominion homeworld Corvax Prime, the High Warlord stood before a massive holographic map. Red lines blinked across the stars, marking the chaos spreading through his empire. A voice trembled behind him. "Our fleets are isolated, my lord. The humans have destroyed all subspace relays in the outer sectors. We've lost control of half our border worlds." The warlord turned slowly, his eyes burning with cold fury. "Then we take it back. Every world, every ship, no mercy." He stepped closer to the map, pointing at the sector where the last attack took place. "Find the Shadow Fleet. Use every sensor, every spy, every hunter we have. I want them broken." A tall Dominion admiral bowed. "Yes, my lord. We already have a lead. One of our scouts tracked a human energy signature near the Ashen Nebula." The warlord's mouth curved into a cruel smile. "Then burn the nebula." In the cold expanse of the Ashen Nebula, the Shadow Fleet hid within clouds of dust and gas. It was a ghostly place where light bent and sensors failed. Perfect for hiding or dying, Aric stood at the bridge, watching the nebula's strange glow ripple across the viewport. "Any sign of pursuit?" "None yet," Mara replied. "But Dominion scans are increasing. It's only a matter of time." Then suddenly the radar lit up. "Multiple contacts," she said sharply. 70 ships. "They found us!" The crew froze for a moment. Then Aric's voice cut through the silence. "Battle stations. Ready the Archimer. All ships, form up." The Shadow Fleet moved into position, small but fearless. Their engines flared like blue stars against the red mist. The Dominion fleet entered the nebula, massive, dark, and endless. Their ships formed a line stretching across space. At the center was a new warship, larger than any the humans had ever seen, the Sovereign Spear, the pride of the Dominion. From its command bridge, Admiral Kareth watched the human ships on his display. 6 vessels, he said coldly. "They think they can fight the Dominion with 6? He raised his hand. "Erase them." The first blast came like a storm. Plasma fire tore through the nebula, shaking every ship. The Valor twisted through the chaos, its shields flaring. "Return fire," Aric ordered. Missiles streaked through the red mist, exploding against Dominion hulls. 2 enemy ships shattered instantly, but the numbers were overwhelming. More ships appeared every second. Commander Kell's voice came through the comms, urgent. "We can't win this, Aric." "There are too many." Aric's tone was steady. "We're not here to win. We're here to survive." He turned to Mara. "Activate the decoy drones." "All of them." Mara hesitated. "That'll drain our power reserves completely." "Do it," he said. Moments later, hundreds of glowing drones burst from the Valor's hull, spreading across the nebula. Each one emitted human signals, confusing the Dominion sensors. Admiral Kareth's fleet broke formation, firing in every direction. Explosions lit up the clouds. "Multiple human ships detected," his officer shouted. Kareth growled. "Destroy them all!" But the drones had done their job. The Shadow Fleet slipped through a gap in the confusion, engines burning bright. The Archimer fired one last shot, a blinding beam that struck the Sovereign Spear's command section. The Dominion flagship staggered, its systems flickering. Admiral Kareth roared in rage as flames tore through his bridge. "Find them! Hunt them down!" The Shadow Fleet vanished into the outer edge of the nebula, their ships damaged but alive. Inside the Valor, smoke filled the bridge. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Mara wiped blood from her forehead. "Engines are failing. We can't keep running like this." Aric gripped the console, his voice low but calm. "We'll keep moving until they can't find us. We're ghosts, remember?" She looked at him. "How long can ghosts survive, Captain?" Aric's eyes turned toward the stars ahead. "As long as we must." He turned to the crew. "Prepare for silent mode. No signals, no lights. We vanish." The Valor drifted into the dark, followed by the surviving ships. The nebula swallowed them whole. Back on Corvax Prime, the High Warlord received the report. "Did you destroy them?" he demanded. The Dominion officer lowered his head. "No, my lord." "They escaped again." The Warlord slammed his fist against the table. "One ship, one man, and he dares defy an empire. Then we will make the galaxy itself turn against him." He leaned closer to the hologram map, voice cold as death. "Let every Dominion world know. Capture orders for the Shadow Fleet. No surrender. No survivors. Far away, drifting in silence, Aric stood at the Valor's observation deck. Stars flickered around him, endless, cold, and full of promise. He whispered softly to himself, "They think we're finished." "They're wrong." He turned to Mara. "We'll strike again. But this time we hit their heart," Mara nodded. "Then we need more ships. More allies," Aric smiled faintly. "Then we find them." Outside, the Valor's engines ignited again, faint blue light cutting through the dark. The ghosts of humanity still lived, and their war was far from over. Silence filled the galaxy. The Dominion Empire, once unbreakable, now trembled under its own fear. Communication lines shattered. Fleets lost contact. Colonies rebelled. The name Shadow Fleet had become a nightmare whispered in the dark, and at the center of it all, Captain Aric Vance and the USS Valor, hidden within the ruins of an ancient star system, the last of humanity's warriors prepared for their final mission. The ships of the Shadow Fleet floated quietly above a dead planet, their hulls reflecting the pale light of a dying sun. Mara stood beside Aric on the bridge. Her voice was low but firm. "The Dominion fleet is gathering near Korvax Prime. It's their stronghold. If we strike there, we end this," Aric nodded slowly. "Then that's where we go." She looked at him uncertain. "It's suicide, Captain. They'll have thousands of ships. We have 6. Aric's eyes were calm, steady, unshaken. "They think power comes from numbers. But it comes from will." In the war room, the captains of the Shadow Fleet appeared as flickering holograms. Commander Ishakel of the Eclipse Squadron spoke first. "Our engines are half dead. Supplies are low. If we go for Korvax, there's no coming back." Aric looked around the room, his face lit by the cold light of the stars. "Then we don't come back. We finish what we started." He pressed a control, and the holographic map lit up, the Dominion capital world at its center. "Surrounded by rings of defense stations and fleets, we'll use the nebula drift to hide our approach," Aric said. "Once we're close, Archimer will hit their orbital shield. Valor and Eclipse Squadron will dive for the command core. If we destroy that, the Dominion collapses." Commander Kell leaned forward. "And the Sovereign Spear? Reports say it's been repaired." Aric's expression hardened. "Then we destroy it again." Hours later, the Shadow Fleet launched from the dead world. Engines flared blue against the darkness. They moved silently, cutting through space like arrows through smoke. The closer they came to Korvax Prime, the heavier the air felt. Mara watched the sensors carefully. No movement yet. "Maybe they don't know we're coming." Aric shook his head. "They know. They're waiting." And he was right. As soon as the fleet broke through the last nebula cloud, space exploded with red light. Dominion warships appeared in every direction. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Mara's voice cracked. "They're everywhere, sir." Aric stood tall, his eyes fixed ahead. "Then we fight everywhere." The first Dominion volley hit hard. Plasma fire shook the Valor's hull. Sparks rained down on the bridge. But the humans didn't stop. The Archimer's cannons roared, cutting through entire enemy lines. The Eclipse Squadron danced through the chaos, launching torpedoes and shattering destroyers. "Target the Sovereign Spear," Aric commanded. Through the smoke of battle, the massive Dominion flagship appeared, black, jagged, and burning with crimson energy. Mara shouted, "They're charging their main cannon!" "Brace for impact." Aric yelled. The blast struck the Valor's shields, throwing everyone off their feet. Consoles exploded. The bridge filled with smoke. Shields down to 20%. Mara coughed. Aric stood up, blood on his face. "Bring us closer. Aim for their command tower." "But Captain—" "Do it!" The Valor's engines roared, pushing forward through the fire. The Archimer followed, its dark matter cannon glowing brighter than ever before. "Fire!" Aric shouted. The two human ships fired together, one beam of blue light, one spear of white flame. The shots struck the Sovereign Spear's center. The Dominion flagship cracked open like glass, explosions ripping through its hull. Admiral Kareth's voice echoed over the comms, furious to the end. "You will never—" His transmission cut off in a burst of static. The Sovereign Spear was gone. But the battle wasn't over. Dominion ships swarmed around the Valor, firing endlessly. The Archimer's engines flared out, its reactor overloading. Commander Kell's voice broke through the radio. "Aric, the Archimer's going critical. We're going to blow the shield network manually." Aric's eyes widened. "No, Kell, pull back." Kell's voice was calm. "You taught us to fight, Captain. Now let us finish." The channel went silent. Moments later, a massive explosion filled space. The Archimer detonated, taking hundreds of Dominion ships with it. The blast ripped open Korvax Prime's orbital shield, exposing the planet below. Mara whispered, "They did it." Aric's jaw tightened. "Then we do our part." The Valor plunged toward the planet, engines burning through the atmosphere. Enemy fire rained from above, but Aric didn't slow. He aimed for the Dominion command spire, the center of their empire. "Prepare all charges," he shouted. "We take them down with us." The ship shook violently as it descended. Fire consumed the skies. Mara looked at him, her eyes filled with both fear and pride. "It's been an honor, Captain." Aric smiled faintly. "The honor's mine." The Valor hit the ground like a falling star, crashing through the spire's towers. The explosion lit the horizon, brighter than the sun. The Dominion command collapsed. Across the galaxy, their fleets went silent. Their empire, built on fear and power, fell in one final blaze. Days later, the war ended. The survivors of the Shadow Fleet were found drifting among the stars. Some ships were gone forever, others damaged beyond repair. But the legend lived. Whispers spread of the Valor, the ship that destroyed an empire, of the captain who led humanity's last stand. They said that when the smoke cleared and the stars began to shine again, a faint signal echoed from the ruins of Korvax Prime, a single, repeating message. "This is Captain Aric Vance. Humanity stands." Across the scattered colonies of man, lights began to rise again. The exiles returned to their worlds. The children of Earth reclaimed the stars. And somewhere in the deep void, a beacon flickered, the last light of the Valor, still shining. The war was over, but the legend had just begun.